Today what I got is I'm going to do a quick little assembly and disassembly video. This BL-22, this is a Browning 22 lever action rifle. And there's a little trick, a few tricks to getting this thing done. So, the first thing you got to do, get one screw, you get at least one screw off, and there's a flathead screwdriver, flathead screw in there, holding the buttstock on. So with that, you will need a long handle or a long reach flathead screwdriver. Next thing you'll need to do is back this screw out with a proper fitting screwdriver. This is a Brownell's Magnatip set, and that is just sitting in there. I have not screwed it in there, so that guy comes out. They may be tight, so the proper fitting screwdriver helps. Just wiggle that whole thing straight out. So, a couple things to keep in mind here. There's a pin that indexes into the bottom of the receiver here, and this bolt carrier, here's the plate that covers the extractor, but here I'll show you, that plate came off, so we'll show you how this works here. So inside here is the bolt housing, so this bolt should just lift right off of here. And you got to be careful of this little block right here. So you can see that little block that is on the, that's the lever for the bolt throw. And then inside here, might fall off, mine is loose. So there's a little spring. Right inside there where that hole is, there's a little spring. Don't lose that. And then also, the ejector is in there as well. Couldn't find it there for a second. So that's your ejector. So that's the basics to taking it apart as far as the action receiver go for cleaning and such like that. It gets a little tricky putting this thing back together. So there's a couple things you got to do here with this. We'll take this bolt out here. Release. So this block needs to be in that direction. And there's also a groove in the receiver right there, or the lower half, that this rail needs to slide into. The other thing we need to look at is this bar up here needs to slide under this pin right here. So that goes up, this goes underneath, and that catches that follower assembly. Otherwise it'll stick up like that, so we want to hook that first. Easiest way I found to get this in here. That's a really snug fit there, so once that bar's in there, we want to make sure this bar is, or follower goes underneath that bar inside there, and then that is lined up. So if we're all correct now, it should function the way it's supposed to. And it appears to, and it should pretty much stay in there. Put our cover plate back on here, and then grab our spring and our extractor in there. If we look inside there, you can see deep down inside there, there's a little block there, and on that block is a little pin, and that ejector sits on that pin. And also that hole there, that's where the little spring goes. So the little spring goes the wide end into the receiver, and then the skinny end pushes up against the ejector. And the easiest way to go about doing that is with a pair of hemostats. So I'm gonna grab on with a pair of hemostats. If you don't have hemostats, you should get some. So that is just gonna sit down inside there, inside our little hole in there. And then the tricky part is getting our ejector put back in there. So So the easiest way I've found to do that is hemostat. Grab onto it like that. And then I'm going to flip this thing around here so I can see it better. And then the tricky part is going to be sliding this guy in there and putting it on there and holding it in place on top of that spring. So it's kind of hard to show, but I'll try and show. Alright, so I have this thing kind of positioned where I can see it. And so this thing just slides in there and you have to hook it on that pin. So getting it on the pin is the easy part. And then you gotta try and line that thing up straight over top of there. And if you have some sort of a non-magnetized, let me grab a, that's too thick, non-magnetized piece of steel, just hold it there while we take that hemostat off of there. And very carefully let that sit there. Our next step is to grab our bolt assembly here with our trigger housing. This is the trickiest part of the whole operation. You gotta slide this whole thing in there and line up the ejector, or the ejector all at the same time. So push the bolt up to the top, and if you're lucky it'll just slide in there. Otherwise, I got a little pick here, let me look and see. I gotta go down just a little bit. So there, it slid in there, and it's staying on top of the spring there. And we just slide this guy in there, push it in with your finger, and then that whole assembly, you might have to open this up a little bit, should slide right together. And there, that pin slid in there and everything slid back together. So then it's just simple as putting that screw back in, putting our stock back on, and it's all finished up. So that's kind of the basic assembly, disassembly of a Browning BL-22. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please check out my channel for more videos like this. Subscribe, like, share, all the above. Check me out on Patreon if you want to help me out, do more stuff like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.